Hello. Welcome to today's live stream. It's so good to see all of you in the chat. I see Kathy, Allison, we have Monica from France. Wow, Austria too. So many people joining. It's awesome. I see my mom's here. Hi, Mom. That's Anne-Marie Trapani Art. Yeah, so today I'm going to be creating with the Simon Says Stamp March 2025 card kit because that just came out on Friday and I had a lot of fun creating with it. It's really springy and bright and happy, and I thought that would be such a fun thing to create with again because it's really inspiring and it's cold outside, so why not think of like warm flowers and spring and all those kinds of good things. Hi Sylvia, nice to see you here today. We also have Nikki here from Dubai. Hi, welcome. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I did already share some inspiration on my YouTube channel showcasing the card kit. So if you wanted even more ideas than what I'm going to be sharing today, you can also find those there. I have 3 cards in that video, and I'll show you before we get started on today's project what cards I created with the kit as well for that video. That was 3 cards using embossing folder techniques. So because there's a lot of great stuff in this kit. There's a big stamp set, 6x8, it's called Tweet Friend, and then there's also a whole set of bow dies. You get an embossing folder. It's a really jam-packed kit, really nicely done. Hi Anel from Illinois, nice to have you here. Yeah, Mel, I'm so ready for spring. I can't wait. Yeah, so why don't I jump on down to my desk and I'll show you guys the cards that I made previously, because one of the cards I actually want to show you the coloring. So this card here, I actually did not show in the video how to color any of these elements because the video was already got a lot of content in it. It's a 20-minute long video. So I was just trying to save a little bit of time and didn't showcase that today or in that video. But today I'm going to show you how I colored these birds and also the little cherry blossoms. So very similar effect that we're going to be creating here. So if you saw that video and were curious as to how I colored them, we're going to talk about it today. And then I also created this card, which used the pattern paper from the kit and the embossing folder. I paired them together, so that created a really cool like dimensional effect, which I thought was really fun. And then this one's a complete departure from the other two. This one's very mixed media like, and I was really excited how it turned out. It almost reminds me of like a metal stamping effect because I used the glossy metallic paper that's in the kit. You get 4 sheets of it, and I thought that would be fun to apply paint and foundry wax over top of the embossing that I did into that metallic paper. So it's really neat. You get a whole bunch of different dimension and shine, and then I also used that cute little one of the bows from the set that's in the kit, and also a little Tim Holtz ideology charm, which I think is really sweet at the bottom. So yeah, so these were the 3 cards that I made in that video. So you can watch that to see all of them come together. But we're going to talk about coloring an effect very similar to what I did here. We're going to color the birds with the cute blues and yellows, and then I'll show you how I did the cherry blossoms. Very simple coloring. So it's not going to be too intimidating or anything. So I'm going to show you the stamp set. Now this stamp set is really special because, for me at least, because my mom actually illustrated it. So I illustrate products over at Simon Says Stamp, but my mom also does too. And so she created this Tweet Friend stamp set, which is darling. You get so many different images here that you can use to build all sorts of different scenes. And there are coordinating dies available. Now they're not included in the kit. They're an add-on purchase, but if you subscribe to the kit, that's something that you can add to your kit purchase prior to it shipping, and those will come when you get your kit as well. Or if you're just purchasing the kit on its own, you can get them as an additional item in your cart. Or if you're not going to get the kit and you just want the stamp set, you can get them as a stamp and die combo. So lots of options for you. Oh, I know, Margot, isn't it so cute? Yeah, Kathy, my mom is very talented. She is a wonderful artist, and I'm excited to be able to utilize her designs to make a card. So I already prepped some of this off screen because, like I said, I don't want this to be like a ton of time for you guys having to watch me color every single little piece, but I want to show you how I colored it. So as you can see, I colored some of the larger blossoms already. I'm going to color this one on screen with you so that you can see how I did this, because I just basically repeated the process across all of these images, coloring the little cherry blossoms. Then I'll show you how to color the bird. I already colored one of them, but we're going to have a little companion to go with, and then I will color the little bird bath on screen with you guys. Monica says she was frustrated when she watched the video coloring the birds. I'm sorry. It's a long video. It's hard to try to keep the content condensed. So because I had 3 projects to share in that video and it was 20 minutes long already, I was like, if I add the coloring, then you guys are going to be sitting there for another probably closer to 5 to 10 minutes. So I thought it would be simpler just to leave the coloring out and you could color the images however you wanted. But when I was ready to share something else with the kit, I thought, well, you know what? Let me showcase the coloring. Since I didn't get to in that video, we'll do it today. So hopefully that'll help you out so you can see how I did it. You're welcome, Monica. Yes. So I'm really excited to showcase this to you guys. I'm going to zoom in so that you can see a bit better as we color. So I do have some markers already picked out. These are the colors that I had used previously when I was coloring the card that I made in that previous video. So I'm going to start first with the cherry blossoms. And for that, I used 2 different shades of pink. I have R14 and RV10. That's what I used to color the blossoms themselves. And then I'm going to also use 3 different greens. I do have a mix of Chow and Sketch. So for the Chow, I used the 14 and the 17 in the G combo, and then I also paired it with G12. Come on, focus. There we go. G12. That's the lightest color. So these were the 3 shades that I used for the leaves on all of my cherry blossom branches. And when I'm coloring something smaller scale like this, I like to keep the coloring simple because there's not a lot of space to work with. So I don't want to be worried about like being super fussy. So I'm starting off with just a light wash of my RV10 as my base color. And then I'm going to come in with my RV14 and add in a little shading. But it's really simple. I'm just like basically bringing it in from the center because that's where I want my darkest color to be. And then for any of these outer petals, I'm putting it towards the bottom or outer edge. Just they're lines. There's nothing really fancy about this. And so then I'll come back in with my lightest color again, RV10, and then just go over it. And I'll go over it quite a bit to get that lighter color to blend a little bit more with the RV14. Because I'm not using any additional shades in between these 2 markers, I just want to make sure I give it a little bit of time to get that lighter color to work into that darker. But I'm just going back over top of any of those areas where the lightest color is meeting up with the darkest to get them to fade together. And as you can see, that gave a really nice little blend. Now for this little petal turn here, I'm just going to add a little bit of pink down towards that middle section and then carefully go back over it as it met up with the lighter color, and just to get that to blend out. So really simple. I did that across all of these petals. I didn't do anything fancy. So just something really simple and quick because they're small. You don't want to get yourself all stressed out trying to add all sorts of detail. Now, if you wanted to add detail to any of this, because they're small, I'd reach for a colored pencil and then just come in and add some extra details if you wanted to. But I think they lend themselves to a more simpler approach, so I like going for that. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in those 3 green markers. Again, it's G12, G14, and G17. I'm starting with G12, and I'm just going to, the same way I did with that pink, just create a little wash of color right over top of the leaf. Then I can bring in my darkest, which is G17. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color in this middle-most section of the leaf. Didn't go out too far. Left some space around it. That's going to allow me to bring in my middle tone, and that's G14. And just go over top of those areas that I added the darkest and start working that color out towards the edges of the leaf. But I didn't color to the very edge because that's where I'm going to bring in my lightest color and go over all of it once more to blend everything together. And there we go. It's a very simple process. Very, very easy to do. It's not something that you're going to have to stress over. Now I do have some grassy areas around my bird bath, so I'm going to color those while I have my green markers out. So to do that one, I'm going to just apply a little bit of green as with my lightest color as a little wash around everything. And I'm going to extend past where I think the dye lines will cut this out, just so that way the green will be all the way past the edge. And then I'm going to bring in my darkest color. And if I have the right side of the nib, then I'm going to focus most of my darker color around the edge of the bird bath because that's where the shadows would be cast. And then I'll add a little bit of darker color to parts of the little grassy pieces, but not all of them. And then that will allow me to bring in my mid-tone, so G14, and go back over top of that darkest color just to blend that, start getting it working into the lightest. We'll come back in with that lightest color to fully blend everything together. And then that lightest color I'm bringing in now, and I'm going over top of all those areas to help blend it all. And that's just going to give me a nice little green area around the bird bath. And keeping that darkest color down around the bottom is helping give that little bit of a shadow effect. So that is the green areas. We've colored all of that. So that was the little flower petal and then the green grass. Now I'm going to color in, since I'm up here at the bird bath, I think I'll color that next. So for this, I thought about using maybe some light blues, but I think I'm going to go for gray because I want the birds to stand out and they're going to be in those light blue colors. So I'm going to pick out a gray for this. So I did bring in a few gray markers. I have, let's see, CO, C1, C3, and then this one's my sketch. So I have C4 for that one. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use all 4 of these, but I pulled them out just in case. I know for sure I want to come over all of it with my lightest color, which is the O. So I'm just going to go over all of this to give it a wash, because if you put that lightest color down first, it's really going to help the rest of your colors blend. It gets the paper a little bit moist with that alcohol ink. And then that way, as you start to bring in other colors, it's got something to start wicking into. Okay, so I've got a little wash there. It's super light. You may not notice it on screen. So now, because I don't want to go too dark all at once, I'm not going to use C4 yet. I'm going to start with C3 and see what that looks like. And I know for sure I want some really darker color underneath of where the top of the bird bath is sitting on the pedestal. I know that for sure. So I'm adding that there. Then I'm going to add a little bit underneath this little like notch area. Bring some down around the side just to make it look a little round. Because I'm going to basically leave a highlight in this area just to help it look rounded. A little underneath there. Same thing here. And then a little under here. And I think I probably will leave it at C3, but as I blend things out, we'll check it out and see how it's looking. Hi, Mary. Nice to have you here. Yeah, so now I'm going to use C1, and I'm going to go over top of that C3. I a lot of times like to skip numbers for especially the grays. I won't necessarily use C2 since I use C3. I'll skip down to like 1. It's just my personal preference. If you have those other numbers and want to add them in between, go for it. It's just the way I typically tend to color. So going over top, I want to make sure I'm overlapping with that darkest color, so that's C3, just so that way I get it moving. And then I can bring in my lightest color once more, which is the 0, and go over the whole thing. And it really starts to blend all of this together. Gives a nice effect. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I don't think I'm going to add the 4. I might come back in a little bit more with that C3 and just intensify this shadow a little bit more, just because it would naturally have a little bit more of a harsher shadow up here because this is sitting on top of it. And maybe I'll soften it just a little bit more. I'm never afraid to go back over things. And for those of you that are curious about what paper I'm working on, this is Hammermill white paper. I really like how smooth it is. It takes the Copic markers really nicely. And then for stamping, I use Simon Says Stamps Intense Black ink. So that's what I use to stamp and color my images, or to stamp and use for coloring my images. All right, now I need to color the top part of my bird bath here. And I don't want to go super dark with this. So I'm going to be very careful how much of the C3 I'm using, but I do want to make it look dimensional. So I'm going to add that along this little scallop area here, and then also up above where the water area is. And then I'll come back in with C1 and start working that out. So I'm just tracing over that C3 just to soften the edges of it. But again, I'm not coming up too high because I want to make sure this stays a little lighter, because this, if you had the sun shining on this, this is where the sun would be casting that highlight. So I don't want to lose my highlight area. And then same thing over here along the top section. And then finally, I'll use my O marker and go back over this whole thing to soften it all out. And I like that. Gives it just a little dimension, but it's simple. I'm not doing any sort of feathering or anything. I'm just drawing in basically some lines and then coloring back over them. So I'm happy with that, but I would love to color in the water while I'm here. And I'm going to use the same blue markers that I used for the birds. So this really nice bright blue is super cute. Hi Dee, nice to have you here. Yeah, so we're working on coloring in some images from the Simon Says Stamp March card kit. This is the Tweet Friend set. So the blue markers I have, again, it's a mix of sketch and chow. So I've got, for the chow, I've got B00 and B02, but in between that, I do have B01. So that's my kind of like my mid-tone between those. And then I also have B04. So B04, B02, B01, and then B00. And then I'm just gonna kind of mix and match these, I think. For the water, I'm not sure I'll go with the lightest color here. Definitely want the darkest. So I'm going to use B04 to just add some color inside the water here. There's not a lot of space, so I don't think I'll go with the super, super light color. I think I'll do, I'm not even sure, this might be too much. I didn't really add too much of the B02 because again, I don't want it to go too dark. So I'm just going to skip right down to B01 here and just color that in along the top area. And then if I want to, add a little bit more of that B04 again so that I don't lose all that dark color. But I like that. I think that's cute. Mary, I agree. The March kit is so cute. It's bright, springy, fun. There's a lot of great products in it. Okay, so the last thing I need to color is the bird. He's adorable. I love that these two are like mirror images of each other, and they would look super cute. They're going to be on top of the bird bath kind of together. But what was really fun is I also saw, I believe it was Heather Rui. She took these two birds and then one of the pretty bow dies from the kit. And she had each of them on either end of the bow. So like, I think it was even this bow, if I remember correctly. She had one like having the one end of the bow in its beak, and then the other one was on the other side. It was adorable. Such a great idea. So for the bird, I'm going to start with my blues. So again, I'm bringing in those same blues that I just used for the water. But this time, we're going to use them a little bit differently because as you can see, I do have some light areas on his face and I have some pink along his belly. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to start first with his body and I'm going to add that lightest color, which is B00, as like a wash over all of this. So his head and his backside. And then I'm just going to drag a little bit of that blue down along underneath his wing, but I didn't add any right along his breast here. So we're going to add a little bit of pink there after we're done all of our blue coloring. Now I'm going to bring in my darkest color, so that is B04. Get that to focus. There we go. And I'm going to use this just to color some darker area along his back. And then I'm going to bring a little of it down around his head because I want to create a little bit of that rounded effect. So I brought a little bit of it down and then I'm just going to bring the rest of it up to about there on his head. Okay? But it's more of just a line. It's not no flicking or anything, just very simple lines. Then B02, I'm going to use that to go back over that B04 that I added along his back. As you can see, I left a little space there that I didn't fill in. And I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of draw over that and come in just a little bit around his head. So just kind of adding a little curve there. Then I'll bring in B01 and we're going to go do the same thing, just back over it. I'm not filling in his whole head. I'm just kind of bringing it slowly in as little arcs of color. Now here on his back, I'm going to fill in that bottom area where I had that little bit of lighter blue still showing. Pauline, it's nice to see you. Yeah, and so we're for the rest of this now, I'm going to just go back over, this is the lightest color again, just back over those spots to fill in and feather those colors. This will dry back just a little bit so it'll still have that little like light wash that this one has. So now I can color in his tail and his wings. So for that, we're going to start with our lightest color. I don't like to put too much of the lightest color down all at once. Like I wasn't going to color this whole bird at once, just so that way it stayed moist as I was working. So that's why I'm coloring in sections. So I'm doing the wing now. I used that lightest color. Now I'm going to bring in my darkest and add just a little bit of color along the top of his wing. I'll use B02 to trace over that, bringing that down in just a little bit. B01, same thing, slowly bringing it down. And then finally we'll come back over with the lightest color, B00, and just fade that out. If you notice, we still have quite a bit of light color down here along the tips of his wings. That's where I'm going to add that yellow, and I'll show you how to do that after we finish coloring his tail. So light wash on the tail with the lightest color. Again, darkest color first. Just add a little bit of that along the base of his tail where it meets up with his body. Then B02, just to add a little bit in there. B01, as you can see, I'm not going all the way to the tip of the tail. And then finally, the lightest to wash it all together. Okay, so that gives us the base coloring for the blue parts of the bird. But now I want to add that yellow. So I'm just using a really pale yellow. This is, well, pale yellow, Y11. And this is kind of fun. So we're going to take this and we're just kind of going to flick it. This is the only flicking part that I've done for any of this coloring. We're going to take it, we're going to flick it into the blue areas, but very lightly. So I'm just going to start at the base of his wing, that little tip area, and just flick it into the blue area. But I'm not going too far. As you can see, I've only gone to about right where these little feather marks are. And that's where I stopped. And let it just kind of flow into the rest of the blue color. Do the same thing with the tail. Just the very tips, flick in a little color. It's really cute. It adds just a little touch of yellow there to his wings, which I think is really fun. Now, I want to color in his beak, so I'm going to use YR14, just a light orange. And I'll just color that in. It's a very small spot. I'm not even shading it. Just doing a quick little coloring there. And then I have two like R markers. These are blush kind of colors. So I have R00 and R20. The R20 is going to be the little blush on his cheek. Very simple. I just draw a little circle of color there. Very easy. And then this one is what I use to add the little bit of blush to his belly. So I'm just going to fill that in, that little spot that we left open. Just going to fill that in. It's cute. It adds just a little bit of a warmth down there, which I think is adorable. And just like that, we're done. I have all my pieces colored, and it was really simple and easy to do. So let me pick up my markers here, put them back in their container. Oh, Kathy, I'm so glad that the explanation is interesting. I hope it's easy to understand. Definitely want it to be simple. I don't like anything stressful. So at this point, I can die cut. So I'm going to bring in the coordinating dies. I've already cut them all apart. And I'm going to dump them out so I can sort through them here. Hopefully you guys can't hear all the pouring rain that is happening outside my window. It is a very wet day. We had snow to start, and now it's just an icky mess with the rain. Okay, I'm just sorting through here. I'm finding all the dies that coordinate with these images. I love how detailed some of these dies are, because they actually will cut out in between some of these little nooks and crannies around the flowers, which is awesome. So that one goes there. I have that one for this stem. Let's see, I need that little one. Where is he? There he is. I think that's that one. Yep, okay. And then we also have the bird bath. Now I might, let's see, do I have enough space to cut all this out at once? Oh, I do, good. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna hold all of these down with some tape. Let me grab that. Kathy, where do I live? I live in Massachusetts on Cape Cod. So we oftentimes, because we stick out in the ocean, we oftentimes get a lot of rain instead of snow, which I'm not necessarily upset about. I definitely don't need to shovel if I don't have to, and as much as the snow is pretty, I would prefer it to be warm and sunny and spring-like, just like this card is going to be. Okay, so let me get this lined up so I can tape all these down. Yeah, I appreciate that Simon Says Stamps makes the coordinating dies too. They are awesome. And this die set is great because it actually also cuts out the large sentiments. So not all of the small greetings that are in the set. So these little smaller pieces, they don't have dies, but all of these do. And they're really pretty because we made sure that the dies cut out in between the letters. So they're really delicate, and you get to see then any of your coloring behind, or pattern paper, or whatever it is you're putting behind this. You'll see it through the die cut, which is, I think, awesome. Margot lives in New York, getting the same weather. Ugh, it's icky. And a lot of people further north, like up middle parts of Mass and then into upper parts of New England, they're all getting ice. Oof. I'm glad we're not getting that, because that's a mess. Okay, so I'm just bringing in my coordinating dies, taping these down. I'm using Simon Says Stamp very, very low-tech tape, but you could use any sort of like washi tape. I'll sometimes reach for that. I know there's some brands that Easy C tape. That's one that's very popular as well. Any sort of low-tech tape is going to help hold these down. Okay, just one more here. This little guy down at the bottom. I think he'll fit here. Or is he going to run into that stem? Ah, he's just going to make it. Okay. All right, so I have all these taped down. Let me put these dies back into their little sleeve. I use Simon Says Stamps. They're like storage pockets. They're really handy. because they are durable plastic. They're quite heavy duty. But they also have a flap, so when you have all these little teeny tiny die cuts, you can close that flap, which is right here, tuck that into the back, and that just helps keep them from falling out as easily. I have lost so many teeny tiny dies sometimes when I'm crafting. Sometimes it's because I accidentally left them stuck to my paper when I was die cutting. Okay, so I'm going to try out, I actually got the Gina K Intri-Cut machine. I'll back this out a little bit so you can see better. This is like one of my very few tries with it. I have not gotten to play around with it that much. So I'm really excited to play with it. I'm going to, let's see, I'm still learning this. I'm going to place this onto this mat. This is the cutting mat, and I need to flip it over so that I can place it into the machine. And I think I have the setting good for the pressure. I really love how quiet it is. It's so much quieter than my Big Shot machine. And it's very stable. Okay, run this through, see how this looks. Let's see here. Pick this up. Hey, it cut perfectly. Nice. Cool. And this is like a self-healing mat. So it's, I've already cut a few things on here. You can barely see where they were, which is nice. So I'm really so far very, very pleased with this. And I love how quiet it is. And then it folds up. So, and you just fold this up into a tiny little, compact little piece here. Doesn't take up a lot of room. I like that. All right, so let's see how we got. Okay, pop these little guys out. Oh, look at that. They look so cute. We got our bird. Flower. Has anybody else tried the Intri-Cut machine? I am super curious to hear what everybody else thinks. Shay says, either I'm having deja vu is another similar stamp set. You know, Shay, I did do a couple of bird sets for Simon. They were from a couple of years ago. You might be remembering those. Good memory. All right, so I have my pieces. Now, I'm not even sure if I'm going to use all of these for my card, but I wanted to have more than what I was thinking I was going to need. Now, I do know that I'm going to put them onto this cute little panel. Isn't this adorable? So this is something that I die cut from a new to me die set. This is let me get the name for you. The Lacy rectangle stackables from Fawn. These are adorable. So I used, let's see, this panel, this like medium sized one. There's the largest and then there's two smaller ones. I used like the second to largest one. I love the detail of this. The cute little scallops are so cute. So I'm going to use that as my backdrop for these images. And I know for sure I'm going to kind of place this down here. The birds are going to be on either side. And then I was thinking that my little flower pieces were going to come down from the top. I'm not sure if it's going to be this way or that way, but you know, kind of like that's generally where I was going with it. And then I might put some of these little guys down at the bottom. Not sure. I do know I'm going to use one of the pretty bow dies to put along the area here of the bird bath, just to add a cute little touch. Shay, no, I don't think you're going crazy. Pauline says, that's a great machine. Unfortunately, because of arthritis, you need a motorized one. You bought the Anna Griffin one. Ooh, nice. I've heard a lot of good things about the Anna Griffin one. I don't have that at all, but I've heard lots of good things about it. Okay, so what I want to do for this panel, I did bring in some masking magic from Gina K because I love using this to mask off different parts of my backgrounds when I want to stencil or ink blend. And I just want to do a simple little grassy area that I can do in green and then a sky in blue. So I'm going to show you what I like to do with this. I'm going to take my scissors. These are the Tim Holtz Recoil ones. These are really gentle on your hands. And I'm just going to cut a simple little arc. And this is nothing fancy. But I'm also going to save this top area too, because I also want to mask off the sky. So I'm going to have an area that I can mask off for above. So this will be colored in teal. And then once I color that, I can then mask off that teal area and color in the green down below to create the grass. So super simple. You just cut a very rudimentary little arc, and then that's going to give you a nice little place to do some ink blending. And I love this masking magic because it peels off so easy. It's so simple to work with. Okay, so I'm thinking I can kind of see through this. So I'm just going to gauge how high I want this by looking at this through the masking magic. Can you see down here? This is where I'm kind of like gauging how high I want my bird bath to go. I think bring that masking down just a little bit more. Okay, I'm good with that. So that's going to give me this area to ink blend a little bit of sky. Kathy really likes the Spellbinder Scout and the Tim Holtz Psychic. The Scout is so nice. I'm actually, what you can't see on my floor is I'm working on doing some swatching of some Rainbow Splash cardstock because I have like a swatch book of all my cardstocks, and I wanted to be able to have the Rainbow Splash ones mixed in. So I'm working on cutting that down on the floor. I have Oscar down there too. And so that's where I was using the Scout machine because it's perfect size for that little tag die that I'm using to cut out my little swatches. Super fun. And for those of you that want to see Oscar, here he is on his little cat bed. You can't see him on my cameras because he's on the floor, but this is where he is right now currently. That is him all in action. Okay, so I'm going to ink blend with some Seafoam ink, and I do have a blending brush. And I'm going to use a large one for this because I kind of want to feather that up into the background. Move my scissors so I don't knock them on my feet. And I'm just going to work along the bottom here and start fading this up into the background. And I'm not going to like ink blend around the very edges because I want to try to keep that white if I can. Margot, yes, Oscar is adorable. He's very quiet right now. He was very needy this morning. Oh my goodness, he was crying endlessly for attention. So I fed him before I went live in hopes that that would make him happy, which it did. And so now he's peacefully sleeping away. Okay, so I'm just kind of bringing this up into the top portion here. And I'm just going to bring in my die cut to figure out if I like how this is looking. Again, also my little flower pieces. Yeah, I like that. I don't want to add it too much because I don't want it to like overpower the background. I just want it to be subtle. All right, so I'm going to peel up my masking magic. I always save these and I get to reuse them a couple of times before I have to throw them out. So just tuck that over here. And now I'm going to bring in that other piece, so the other end of what we cut, and this is going to mask off the grass. So I'm just going to line this up over top of where we just ink blended, and then that is going to allow me to color in with some green. So I have Fairway for that. I thought I was kind of like trying to pick a color green that matched nicely with the color that I used for the leaves. So I felt this was the best that I had. So I'm using Fairway. Let's see, Pauline says her cat Penny goes into a cubby hole that you have from IKEA. Oh, she even sleeps in it at night. My cats, oh my gosh, they're spoiled. They have little places to sleep all over the house. Of course, Oscar has so many places to sleep, and yet he still ends up picking a box or some random thing. And it's like, well, that doesn't look very comfortable. And then he sleeps on me at night. I'm like, and it's, for him, it doesn't seem like that would be very comfortable because he's like half hanging off of my leg. I'm like, I don't know. I would be hurting when I wake up in the morning if I slept how he did. They are super flexible. Okay, so I did a little bit of blending along this bottom area. Again, trying not to color in my scallops because I want to keep them white if I can. So let's see how this looks. Oh, perfect. So just a little bit of grass down there. It's going to go so cute Oh, I love that. That is perfect. That was a good color choice. So that was Fairway from Simon Says Stamp that I used for the green, which matched really nicely with those G markers that I used for the coloring of the stamped image. Okay, I need to just clean up this ink a little bit so I don't get anything on my projects. Okay, so I next want to figure out my background. Now, I'm not sure what I want to do for my background. Hi, Vicky from Montana. I have paper from the card kit here. These are gorgeous pattern papers. I mean, like, so pretty. These little ephemera pieces would be fun to use on cards, too. So my contemplation is this piece, or, where's the blue one? That one. And I'm trying to decide if I want to use this as my backdrop, or do I want to use this and maybe even use the embossing folder on it. So I'm going to actually do both because I want to see how both of them look before I actually commit to one. The easier one is going to be this. So I'm going to just die cut this, and I want to make sure I die cut it in the center. So I'm going to use this basic rectangles die set from Simon. And this big one that I'm using is the size of an A2 card. So any basic rectangle die set that you have would work for this. This is just the one I'm using today. But I want to die cut like this little wreath so that it's in the center. And I don't want to try to do that with my paper trimmer. All right, so I'm just going to take my low-tack tape and tape this down. And we're going to bring in our die cut machine and cut this out so that we can see how this looks. Okay, and our plates. Okay. So I'm laying this upside down so that the cut lines are facing up, which will cut into our mat. And I'm just going to run this through. Oftentimes we'll do this. It's like I make different pieces and then I play with it and see how they look. When I can't decide, like if I don't have a full idea in my head as to what I want. Okay, that's cute. And so then I was thinking that would look cute on top. Okay, so that's option one. I'll probably have you guys help me end up choosing. Okay, so now option two. Cut this as well so I don't have to get out my paper trimmer, because this would also be the size of an A2 card. Actually, you know what? I should try to cut this so I preserve some of this cute border, because that would be cute on something else. So let's line that up down here. So I have my die actually up on this area so that I can preserve some of that, because it's pretty. Okay, run that through so that we get an A2 panel. Okay, so we have that blue piece too. And then I did save, I love those little pottery pieces and stuff. Those are cute, so I wanted to save that. All right, so I have this, but I want to use the embossing folder on it, I think. So that's where I'm going to bring in the Drifting Flowers embossing folder, which looks like this. It's really pretty. And I'm going to emboss this. And I think I want do I want the raised side facing up, or do I want it pressed in? I think I'll have it this way. I think I'll have it the raised side facing up. So it'll be dimensional this way. Don't want to deboss it. I think I'm going to emboss it. Okay, now I need to adjust my machine for, let's see, stuck to my desk, suction cups. Okay, move this around so I can adjust the machine. I need to adjust it to 3D embossing. Okay, now back up and put it over here. All right, and for this, I think, I need to check what I need to do for 3D embossing. Because again, like I said, I'm learning this machine. So what do I do for 3D embossing? so I do that and just the platform. Easy peasy. Okay, let's see how it goes. I might need more pressure. I left it kind of where it was for my die cutting. Yeah, I need more pressure. Okay, so let's adjust it for more pressure. I love this little knob on the side. Super handy. Okay, let's try that again. Let's see if we like this. Oh, I can feel it grabbing. Nice. Okay. Ooh, that was perfect. Look at that. Fun. Okay. So now, I love the suction cups on that thing. That is nice. Okay, so I have now 2 backgrounds that I have to choose from. I'll zoom in so you can see. So we have this one, or we have the flowers. And so we could have the cute little blue, or we could have the pink. Which one do you guys like? Do you guys like the pink one with the flowers behind it, or do you like the blue? I mean, this is a tough choice. You have to let me know. I'm going to look at the comments here and see what everybody else is saying. Holly votes blue. Dee likes blue too. Margot says pink. Give you guys a few minutes to decide. Ooh, got some more pinks coming in. Blue, pink. Blue, blue. I'm seeing, I don't know. Now I'm seeing more pink. Okay, blue is definitely winning. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? All right, I see more blue, so I think we're gonna go with the blue one here. Pauline says blue's her favorite color. You have to make 2 cards. I'll have to do the another one off camera if I get a chance, because I don't have any more images. I only have enough images for 1 card. Okay, so it sounds like we're doing blue. So I'm going to put this onto a card base. So I have this white one here from Simon Says Stamp that I made, but I obviously did not measure that correctly because it's a little bit longer. So let me just trim this. Okay, trim that up so it's, there we go. Okay, so I want to glue this onto my A2 card, and I'm just going to use, let's see, do I want to use liquid glue or do I want to use tape? I have the liquid glue handy, so I'm just going to use the liquid glue today. Sometimes I'll reach for some tape, double-sided tape for gluing these panels down, but glue works just as well. So I'm just gluing this, making sure I get some all over here. Flowers will disappear with the cherry blossoms. It's very possible. Okay, so I'm just gluing my card onto my card base. I still have a little sliver there that I need to trim. Let me just trim that up. So it's flush. There we go. Okay. So that is our card base. I made a side folding card here. Okay, and now I'm going to put my little seam panel on here. See, I wanted to do the embossing on the pattern paper just to add a little bit of interest there. It's got stripes, but I think the embossing just kind of adds a little bit more. Barbara, I am using the Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue. That's my favorite glue for liquid adhesive. Okay, so I'm going to glue this down already. And then I can work on adding my little embellishments. I'm using foam tape on the back side of this, just so that way it'll have some dimension. I'm just putting a few strips back there. And then my cherry blossoms, actually, you know what? Let me add the cherry blossoms first, because I can trim them up then and get them flush with the card, because I don't want them hanging off of this little scallop piece. Now the question is, do I want them this way? Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay, so we're gonna glue them in this orientation. I will use some foam squares just because I like dimension, but if you didn't want dimension, you could just glue these straight down onto your card. This card will be a little bit bulkier to mail, just because I'm going to have a few layers. I'll have the foam tape on this, and then I'll have foam tape on these little guys. But that's where I would just stick it in a special envelope, like a padded mailer or something. Okay, so this one's going here, like that. And then my smaller one is going on the other side. And I kind of want them, do I want them overlapping or do I, yeah, I like kind of like, okay, did I press this down enough where I can't pull it up anymore? No, I can't, okay. So I think I might actually overlap these a little bit. I think that would be cute because it kind of almost makes it feel like a little tree then. Maybe I'll put, you know what? I have an idea. I'll do 2 layers of foam tape on this one. I'm going all out on the dimension here. If you're gonna go in, you might as well go all the way in, right? Okay. So this way, it'll just give it a little bit more depth to the scene. I'm being super fussy with this. Okay, I like that. So see how this one's a little bit higher? It just feels more dimensional. That's just me. Okay, so I just want to trim this so that they're not hanging off completely with these really long pieces. And this is kind of a little bit more fussier because we're trying to trim this up to a scallop. So I'm just doing kind of like just quick little cuts. I will leave this one, I think. Do I want to? No, let's cut it. I'm just kind of doing just little simple cuts like that. I'm not trying to shape it with the scallop, just want to cut it simple. Okay, and then now I can glue this on here and then I can start building up from there because I don't want to trim any of the rest of these images. I just want the cherry blossoms trimmed. That looks good. Looks centered. Okay. So this is going to go here, and then I'm going to have my little birds sitting on top. You know what would be super fun? Because these are more dimensional, if we glue these down with the thin foam strips from Simon Says Stamp, that would be awesome. I have them here because you know why? It gives them some relief, different relief. So you got different levels of depth here. So if these are not as dimensional, they'll look like they're under the cherry blossoms. That would be cute. Okay, let's do that. See, I told you, I didn't really have a full plan here. I was kind of, I knew where I was generally going with everything, but I didn't have it like fully figured out. It's somehow how like when I'm creating my videos that are pre-recorded, that's the same thing. Sometimes I have like, I know exactly how I want to do it, and then there's other times where I'm figuring it out along the way. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I put the thin foam squares behind this piece. And then same thing with the birds. So I got my 2 little birds here. They're both going to have the thin foam squares too, because they're going to sit right on top of the bird bath. But look how he looks like he's under the cherry blossom. Isn't that cute? I love this. Okay. So little foam squares are letting me put my little birds. You know what? I want to get him under there better, but I want to use my tweezers so that I can fiddle with him a little bit better as he's underneath. Okay. Can't quite fit my finger underneath there. Okay, I think I like that. I'm not going to press that down all the way just in case I want to fiddle with it. And then same with this one. Let's see. Oh, I like that. Right there. That's cute. They're not perfectly like symmetrical, so I did that intentionally so that way one looked like he was dipping in a little bit more than the other one. Okay, and then do I want to add these guys? Maybe one for sure. Ooh, maybe that one, right? Like that. I like that. But I think I will put that down with liquid glue, because then it'll look like it's behind the bird bath. Okay, tweezers again. A little bit of liquid glue here. And then I'll tuck that right there. Cute. I like that. That is adorable. It just brings that pink down a little bit more. Speaking of pink, I need to clean off my glue here so I can put the cap on. This is one thing I hear all the time is everybody who has this glue always wants to know how to keep it from getting clogged. Use the cap. This cap has a little piece of plastic in there that seals the tip. So that keeps your glue from clogging. I never have to worry about it being clogged if I use this cap. You'd also want to make sure that you don't leave the cap off for too long. Okay, so speaking of pink, that was the next thing I was going to say. I'm going to bring in my kit. By the way, sometimes Simon sends the kits with the mesh bags, and if they don't send them with the mesh bags, then I also I have a stash of mesh bags that I keep my kits in as I'm working with them, so that I can find everything and it keeps it all contained. I love that all the kits always fit in these things. It's a fantastic storage system. Okay, but in the kit is this new bubblegum pink glitter cardstock. Isn't this dreamy? I love this. It's a new color. They did not have this pink. They had other pinks, but not this one. This one is literally brand new. So I'm using this because I want to also cut out one of the bows. So these are the pretty bow dies. Let me show you the packaging. I had it here. Let's see. Oh, here it is. This is what they look like when they cut out. So you have 5 different bows in this set. I actually designed these dies. I really, really wanted bows that you could put onto your cards, tags, and other things. Like, this is a set that you could use all year round. Imagine doing Christmas cards with these, and any card in general. They're really cute, but they're a great size for a lot of different things. I mean, as you saw in the samples I showed you, I used one on this mailbox. I also used one to attach on top of my little charm for this card. So they're a really good size for a lot of different things. I want to use one of these to put a bow onto my bird bath down here. So the question is, which one do I want to use? So I'm just going to kind of look at these and figure out. I like the simplicity of that one. I might just do that one. Or I could do, like, that's cute too. That is also adorable. It kind of fills that spot really nicely, actually. Okay, you know what? We're going to cut both this one and that one. We're going to cut both of them because then I can just play around and see which one I like most. So I'm going to try to preserve as much of this pink paper as possible because it's so yummy. I do not want to waste any bit of it. So I'm going to just fussy cut around these. You like the second one I picked up, Pauline? Well, we're going to play with both of them. And we're going to see which one we like best cut out. And I'm going to grab my die cut machine once more. And before I put it down, let me quick change it from embossing to die cutting. Okay. So here's the Intri-Cut again. And we're going to place these into our Intri-Cut. One there. And one there. Getting back on. Okay. And then we're just going to run this through. Cut them out. Let's see. Did I get my thickness right? I did. Oh, good. Okay. And it's stuck to my glass mat. Sorry for the noise. Those suction cups are good. It's funny, I've been playing with it on my other cabinet because I actually keep my die cut machine on the other side of the room. So I didn't actually realize that the suction cups were going to stick so much to my glass mat. Okay, so I have my, let me zoom back in so you can see. Okay, so we have my 2 bows. I'm pulling out the little inner pieces here. Okay, so these are the 2. I gotta figure out which one I like most on this card. Do I like this one? That's super cute. I like how it drapes. It goes really nicely with the bird bath. Or this one fills in a little bit more. I think I like the delicacy of this one. I think I like that one more. I'm gonna go with that one. I'll save this though because that is still a usable die cut for something else. Okay, liquid glue again. I just need a small dot of this. I will use my tweezers to help hold this down. There we go. And just lay that there. Oops. I like that. That is super cute. Okay. So, at this point, I just need a greeting. So I'm going to bring in that stamp set again. That's the Tweet Friend. And I'm going to figure out what I want for my sentiment. This is one of the things I love about the clear stamps is that, I'm zoomed out a little too much. I wanted you guys to be able to see, but not that far out. Okay, so I can kind of like play. I think Hugs is kind of the one I'm leaning towards because I don't want to add a secondary greeting. So I'm going to use, I think, Hugs because I'm going to put that, I think, up along the top area of this cherry blossom section. Cynthia wants to know what die cutter do you use? I am playing around with the Gina K Intri-Cut. It's new to me. I literally just got it a few days ago, and this is like some of the very first playing around that I've done with it. I've die cut some things off camera just to figure out how it worked, but I'm still learning it. So far I'm really pleased with it. I like it. It cuts really, really nicely, and it's so much quieter than my other die cut machine, which was the Big Shot. Okay, so I'm placing this into my into my Misty, which has a Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Mat on it. So I need to figure out what color cardstock I want to use. I think I'm going to go for blue. I think. Or I could do pink. Because the pink would kind of like sort of blend in, but I think it might be too much. Or I do black. Actually, you know what? Let me do black. I think black is going to be my best choice. So, since I was working on swatching my Rainbow Splash cardstock, I have that out. So I'm going to use that, which I actually really, really love Rainbow Splash cardstock because it's super smooth. It's a little thinner. I think I want to say it's 80 pound. Let me just make sure I had this lined up right. I want to say it's 80 pound, but it is a really nice smooth finish. So like stamping on it is really, really nice. Okay, so I'm going to prep the surface here with my powder tool. This is a Simon Says Stamp powder tool. And I'm going to use clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp. I always prep prior just to make sure I don't get any powder where I don't want it. Yeah, Mom, which for those of you who missed earlier, Mom, Anne-Marie Trapani is my mom. Yeah, I love the tacky mat inside the Misty because then I don't have to use the magnet. Now, something I like to do is I will stamp a second time, just in case I didn't press hard enough. Because when I'm stamping with embossing ink, I try not to press too hard so that I don't like kind of squish the ink outside of the stamp areas. So I'm very light, but a lot of times I'll go back over it a second time just to make sure that I didn't miss a spot. Okay, let's put these over here. I'm going to use white embossing powder. So let me grab that. I got white here. And I like to use a coffee filter to catch my extra powder. If I was working on something bigger, sometimes I'll reach for printer paper, but okay, that looks really good. pour that back. All right, now I just need to grab my heat tool. So I have that here. Let me plug it in. And here we go. We're going to emboss it. I like to emboss from the back side first. The reason is that it helps get a more smoother finish with the embossing. And then it also will combat the warping. So a little bit of heat on the back side, then I bring it to the front. And then that gives me less warping on my paper. And it also gives me a smoother finish on my embossing. That's my personal preference. What ink did I use for the Copic markers? I used Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, but any black ink that works with Copic markers, alcohol inks, that would work just fine. That's just the one I used. Okay, so now I need the coordinating dies because again, this cuts out these cute little sentiments, the larger ones from the stamp set. So I have hugs here. And I want to line that up and then use my tape to hold it down. Holly, use a Rubbermaid container for embossing powder. I was just talking about that with some people, and we were kind of mixed. Some people like it and some people don't. Some people prefer the jar. I'm one of those people that prefer the jar, but then other people, they love the containers. Okay, so here is my piece. I just need to run this through my die cut machine. Let's see. Bring that back in one more time. Lay that down. And run it through. All right. Wait till you see how detailed this is. It's awesome. Look at that. All those little inner parts are all cut out. How cute. I love this. Okay. So there's not extra cardstock just kind of floating around here. All right. And so this, I'm thinking I'll put up in this upper corner. I think that's where I'm going to put it because I don't want to put it down here. I think I want it there. Now, the question is, I think I have enough room that I could put little tiny pieces of foam tape back there. I have also foam strips, but if you don't have foam strips, you could also just cut your little foam squares down into tiny pieces. But these fit really nice behind small areas. So I'm going to use that to just put a couple little pieces back here. One there and one there. I don't need a lot. Let's see. Do I want 2 layers though? Because I had an extra layer there. No, I think that's good. Okay. So just a couple little pieces back there. They hide nice. And then I'll pop that up along the top area here. Figure out exactly where I want it. I think right like that. I like that, yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna change my mind. And just bring it over just a little bit more. Put that back on. See, this is me all the time. I'm always constantly overthinking it. Because like I want to bring it in just a little bit more. Okay, this time I am happy. Okay, so that is my cute little sentiment up there. So one other thing I wanted to show you is I want to put some dimension on my water. I want it to look like water. So I'm going to bring in some glossy accents. Now my glossy accents is probably partially clogged because I haven't used it in a little bit. So I'm going to bring in a pin and just clear that out to get it flowing. That's the one thing with glossy accents is it does have a tendency to clog. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. I wanted this water to look like water. So if I use glossy accents, I can cover over my water areas with that. And it'll look kind of cloudy right now because it's wet. But once this dries, this will have a glossy finish, which will look realistic, which I think is so much fun. So there you can see that shine on the water. When that dries, that'll be clear and it'll look like there's little water. It'll look like real water, which I think is fun. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Holly stores hers upside down. Oh, good tip. Yeah, I usually have a tendency to leave it upright. Even though I put the cap on it as soon as I'm done, I always eventually find it clogged. But I also don't use it all the time either, so that might be part of my problem. But there we go. That is my finished card project using the Simon Says stamp March 2025 card kit, which is a great complement to the other card that I did using the bird set. This is the Tweet Friend stamp set from the kit. And what's also cute is I used that embossing folder in the background, and here I used it on the pattern paper as a backdrop, which is very subtle, but it adds just a little bit of something special to that striped pattern paper, which I think is really fun. So, how about that? I was really happy with how this turned out. For those of you who are watching on right now live, but also on rewatch, I'm going to have a blog post for this project. I'll take pictures and I'll have some more information. I'll have a full supply list because I do have a general supply list in the video description right now. But once I did add a couple things. So once I'm done this live stream, then I'll go ahead and add the extra supplies that I didn't include. So that way everything's there in case you were curious about anything. But I hope you enjoyed. I'm so glad everybody came for this. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you, Shay. I'm so happy how it turned out. And thank you for everybody for giving your feedback on the background choice. So we've ended up choosing the blue instead of the pink, which I'm really happy with. I love how it turned out. Mel, thanks for joining me. She was from Austria, so it's a later evening for her today. But I'm so glad she got to join. Oh, Holly, you would have put a sentiment on the inside. You know, sometimes I'll put stuff on the inside and then a lot of times I'll leave it empty. It kind of depends on the card. If I was to put something on the inside, what would I do? You know, let me just pop down here. I probably would bring in one of these cute little cherry blossoms and stamp that in the corner on the interior. I think that would be cute. And then if I wanted to add another sentiment, I could probably say something about you are the tweetest. Like I could say hugs on the outside and then you're the tweetest on the inside. If you were going to add anything extra, you could also, like if this was a birthday card, you could say hugs on the outside and then put wishing you a happy birthday on the interior. So you've got some options on how you could decorate the interior of the card. But yeah, so does anybody have any questions before I bid everybody adieu? Deb, thank you so much. Carla, glad to have you. I'm glad you had a good time. There is a slight delay, so I'm just giving you guys a chance to throw any questions out if you had any before I go. Oh, Anne, thank you. Very, very happy that you got to join me today. Oscar's still sleeping. He's repositioned himself, but he hasn't really moved. Oh, Pauline, yes, you wait till you get your kit. You're going to have a blast. And if you're watching this and you want more inspiration using the kit, I do have another video on my YouTube channel. It's a pre-recorded video where I showed 3 ways on how to use the kit contents. And also it contains 3 ways to use embossing folders because there is an embossing folder in the kit, as you know, as we've seen here. So I showed you 3 different techniques using that embossing folder. So that's a lot of fun too. And then the Simon Says Stamp blog has their card kit gallery where you can see inspiration from all sorts of crafters who have created. And if you made a card with the card kit, you can add your project there too. If you didn't know that, you should, because it's a great way for other people to see additional ideas using the kit content. So if you make something, check out the Simon Says Stamp card kit gallery and add it in, because that's a really great way for everybody else to get inspired too. Well, thank you so much, friends, for joining me today. I appreciate it so very much. I will look forward to doing this again very soon. So I hope you'll join me for another live stream in the future. And until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Thanks.